All right, hey guys, welcome to video number 11. Today we're going to be talking about the present perfect continuous. In the past few videos you saw the present perfect simple and past simple and how those relate. In this video we're going to talk about the present perfect continuous, and then in the next video I'll compare the two, present perfect continuous and present perfect simple. But first let's get into present perfect continuous. So the beautiful thing about present perfect continuous is we have rules, we have reasons, we have why, and that is a beautiful thing because if you can follow and remember these three rules, this would be super easy for you. All right, so let's look at why we use this. So here's number one. We use this to talk about unfinished actions. So this is an action that started in the past, yesterday, 1 year ago, 10 years ago. Doesn't matter, it started in the past and continues into the present, so we're bringing those two actions or those two times together. All right, number two is to focus on the duration of an unfinished action, and this answers the question, how long? So how long have you been doing something? How long have you been studying English? And number three, you'll see this more in British English textbooks like Oxford, Macmillan, even like Raymond Murphy. And here we're going to talk about recently completed repeated actions. And it's really important that we can still see the result of that action. But before we go into detail on rules number 1, 2, 3, let's just quickly look at the form for present perfect continuous. So here we're going to use subject plus have or has plus been plus verb ing. All right, so I can say there's two examples here. I've been working hard recently. He has been seeing her for months. Okay, in this case means dating. All right. Negative, teacher, no, we haven't been sleeping. Okay, so I'm using a negative form of have, haven't, plus been, plus verb ing, or it hasn't been raining. Don't worry, you can go play golf. The golf course will be fine. It has not been raining. All right, and then questions, very, very common questions like how long have you been waiting, or how long have you been living there, how long has he been living there. We're going to use these to talk about how long something has been happening. All right, so let's move on to number one. Let's go into that in more detail, and we use it again to talk about something that started in the past and continues into the future. So here we got our nice little timeline. I love timelines, that are my favorite. Here we can see 2006, and here we can see today. All right, so today, right now it's 2021. But let's think about what could I have been doing for 15 years, right? So I can say, oh, I have been teaching since 2006. So someone would ask me about my teaching experience. I would say, I have been teaching since 2006. There's me right there. Maybe not. But I started in 2006, I continue to now, and now, and now, and probably tomorrow, probably in the future. So that's why we're using present perfect continuous. I have been teaching since 2006. I have been teaching for 15 years at the time of this video. Here's another timeline for another example. 8 a.m., 11 a.m., what could be happening? Okay, I can say it has been raining all morning, right? Hey, let's go to the beach. No, we can't. It's been raining all morning, right? That's not good. No beach in the rain. And we can see that it started at 8 a.m., continues to now, and probably into the future. So as you can see here, both of these actions are not finished. So that's really, really important. All right, and if you saw in one of the previous videos, present perfect simple, we often use that with state verbs, and obviously here we could not use the present perfect continuous because we can't use it with state verbs. So I have been having a cat. Nope, not possible. Have is a state verb, so we would have to use present perfect simple. I have had a cat. Don't worry if that's complicated now. We'll go into that more in the next video. All right, so here we go. Rule number 2. We use the present perfect continuous to talk about the duration of an action. Duration just means how long I've been doing something. So it's very similar to rule number 1. It's slightly different because We're not focused on how many or how much, we're focused on how long. We'll talk about that in a second. So here's another timeline. You can tell I love those. So let's say 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. All right, now we look at this boy, poor boy, maybe he has a tiger mom, I'm not sure. But we can say he has been reading since, or all day, right? He has been reading all day. He has been reading since 9 a.m. You look at him, he's not happy, still not finished, so we can see the result of that action, right? Brad has been reading all day. Now, I don't care how many pages he's read. I don't care how many books he's read. Not important. Here, I'm focused on the activity. Here, I'm focused on the duration, how long he's been reading. All right, so let's look at the second example here. Let's talk about years ago, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years ago. And today, this lady, you know, she's looking at the water like, oh man, I wish I could do that. And then maybe we say, she hasn't been swimming in years, or 4 years. She hasn't been swimming in years, right? So that means years ago was the last time she went swimming, and still today she has not been swimming. So this is always a little bit tricky because it's negative, so it's something that she hasn't been doing. So it's an action that she hasn't been doing, but we still use that with present perfect continuous. All right? So that's really, really important. As I said before, we don't care how much or how many, we care how long. If I want to say how many, then I would use present perfect simple. So he has read 100 pages. He has read 5 books, something like that. But don't worry, more on that in the next video. All right, and because in the last 2 slides we've seen these words for and since, you know, I can say Brad's been reading since 9 a.m. He's been reading for 11 hours, right? What's the difference? How do we use for and since? Well, here we go, another timeline. 9 a.m., 11 a.m., let's call those A and B. And with for, we use that to talk about A to B, right? So how long is the gap between A and B? So in this case, it's 2 hours. So we can say he's been sleeping for 2 hours. He's been working for 2 hours. And then when we use since, we're just talking about point A. We don't care about B. Of course, it kind of has the same meaning. He's been reading since 9 a.m. So that kind of has the same meaning on this timeline. So it's 9 to 11 is 2 hours, but I can say since 9 a.m. Here are some other words that we use with present perfect continuous, and they both have the same meaning. So we can say all morning, all afternoon, the whole morning, the whole afternoon. So just like Brad there, right, he has been reading all day. He has been reading the whole day, right? So again, these are unfinished time words, so we're going to use those mostly with present perfect continuous. All right, so let's move on to number 3, the last rule, and then we're going to do a little bit of a test at the end. Lesson 11, here we go. Number 3, recently completed repeated actions. So I said at the beginning of the video, we use this mainly in British English because Americans tend to just, if something's finished, then we use a simple tense, it's finished. But let's look at this example. So for example, 0 kilometers and 42 kilometers. Probably we know that that's a marathon, right? So we can see this guy, clearly he's finished. You can see the people behind him are still running, but he's finished, right? Now I can say he has been running, right? He has been running. Now, why? Because we can still see the result, and that's really, really important. We can see the result of that action. He's wearing running shoes, he's tired, he's sweating. We can see the finish line. All of those things we can see, so that's really, really important. So the action is finished, but the result shows us that it was very, very recent, right? Here's another example, morning to afternoon. This guy's sleeping, there's a computer in front of him. I can say he has been working really hard. So he's sleeping, right? But we can see the result of his work. His phone is there, his computer is there. So he started in the morning and continues to now. Well, he's not working, but we can see that he was working and very recently finished, all right? So again, it's important that these actions are repeated, right? It can't be a one-time action, like I cut my finger, or yesterday I ran 5 kilometers. We don't talk about that because it's yesterday. I'm not wearing my running clothes. I'm not wearing my shoes. I'm not sweating. It's completely finished. So in that case, we're not talking about we're not going to use, we're going to just use past simple for that. Whereas with this, we can see that he's still running. We can see that he's wearing his shoes, as I mentioned before, right? We can see this guy, he's sleeping, he's tired, but his computer's open. And we can tell that he has been working. He has been working really hard. All right, so those are the 3 rules, and those are the 3 rules that we use. So now it's your turn. Tell me, which sentence is using rule 1, 2, or 3? All right, so just a quick recap on the rules: unfinished actions, duration of an unfinished action, and a recently completed repeated action. So let's look at number 1. All right, why is Dan crying? Oh, he's okay. He's just been chopping onions. So which rule is that? We can see that he's crying. So we see the result of the activity. We see something has been happening before, the crying. And then, but we say, it's okay. He's just been chopping onions, right? Sometimes you cry when you chop onions, right? So he's been chopping, but we can see the result. Maybe we can see a pile of onions. We can see a knife or a dirty cutting board, something like that. We can see the result. So this is rule number 3, exactly. Rule number 3. All right, how about number 2? You should take it easy. You've been exercising for a few hours already. So like I said, number 1 and number 2 are very similar: an unfinished action or the duration of an unfinished action. And because I say for a few hours already and exercising for a few hours, that's pretty long. So in this case, I don't really want to, I'm focused on the duration of the activity. So I'm going to say this is rule number 2, exactly. All right, and the last one, it's been an amazing summer. We've been traveling since May. All right, so I'm not really focused on the duration here. I'm just focused on the fact that it's not finished. I started traveling in May. I'm still not finished. It's been an amazing summer, so I'm super excited about that. So I can say we have been traveling since May. All right, there you go. Last question for you is to think about this, or to activate this in your brain. Just think about, how long have you been studying? How long have you been living in your house? How long have you been seeing your girlfriend or boyfriend? How long have you been playing that computer game that you like to play? How long have you been learning this course, right? Think about those actions. Think about those, in the present perfect continuous. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video where we compare the present perfect continuous and the present perfect simple. And that's really easy because the rules are clear. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Happy studying. Goodbye.